There is this some sort of series, Adam Ruins Everything, where he apparently ruins everything. And I'm gonna give my response to it. It's Adam Ruins Conspiracy Theories. And well, I just think it's complete bullshit. And well, it's not just to address this particular video or this guy's arguments or lack thereof, but to address, like, I've seen some people, like on Minds and stuff, counter signaling against conspiracy theories and tinfoil hattery and all that stuff. And well, it's like, you know, virtue signaling, or maybe it's more accurately idiocy signaling or something, since you don't disprove, like, if you think a particular conspiracy theory or whatever or a claim is wrong, you don't disprove it by like insulting people, by calling them tinfoil hat wearers or whatever. You actually have to address their arguments. But okay, let's start with this piece of shit. Okay, there's this guy. So the first thing I have to say, like,
no, conspiracy theories are dangerous and irrational. It's just plain wrong. The moon landing definitely happened. Oh yeah?
So just looking at the guy, you lose any argument when you look like that. Like, I know it's not the like best argument against him, but seriously, you want to look like that sort of new male beta cock, like, yeah, go ahead. Maybe he should, I don't know, wear a mask or something, or don't dress like that. But anyway, he's like the plot of the video, that this is this, you know, semi-whale girl. She's the girlfriend of this guy, and she believes that the moon landings were fake, and he gets triggered, and then he has to disprove that her claims. And he says that conspiracy theories are wrong and dangerous. Let's listen again. I sort of botched it up.
No, conspiracy theories are dangerous and irrational. It's just plain wrong. The moon landing definitely happened. Oh yeah?
So they're dangerous, like, dangerous how? Like, I suppose they are dangerous because a so-called conspiracy theory, what it actually is, like, at least to, I hope, like, rational people, is the, like, just questioning the official story on events. That's basically what the conspiracy theory amounts to. Because you get the, like, well, just like few weeks ago, I was arguing with some friends about science. Like, I was saying that I think a lot of, like, especially cosmology, so-called science, that it's fiction. It's not even like proper science. And I was saying something like, you know, because the red shift supposedly proves that the universe is expanding, and I was like, well, there could be another explanation to red shift. And then one guy, he laughed at me like, ha ha ha, you sound like a conspiracy theorist. And well, that's what basically a conspiracy theorist nowadays amounts to. Like, you don't believe, or you question what the official line is in any like in any topic that there is clear consensus according to basically Wikipedia or something. Yeah. So anyway, and yeah, you're dangerous when you question it, because, like, well, sometimes you just question things and you might be wrong, but sometimes, like, there is actual, let's say, chicanery afoot, and you know, the official party line in whatever issue, it's wrong, and somebody doesn't want it to be outed because they either they are guilty of some sort of crime, or maybe they are just basically, they lose money if their bullshit is called out. So okay, now he shows his great evidence debunking the moon landing hoax conspiracies, and I'm not, like, particularly interested in the moon landing hoax claims and stuff, but basically I just think it's all, like, if you look at the facts, I don't know how anybody can believe that NASA went to the moon in the 60s, but okay, let's move on.
But the truth is, making the moon landing in 1969 actually would have been harder than just going to the moon in the first place. Here, I'll show you.
Take moon landing, take one. All right, in this scene, you're on the moon, and it's real, and we're fooling America and the son!
See? Stanley Cooper just shot a guy jumping around on set and then they played it back on TV.
Sorry, but given the filmmaking and lighting technology at the time, that actually wouldn't have been possible.
Right, the lighting. Look at how bright it is. Look at these shadows. This was clearly shot in the studio.
Actually, creating that lighting would have been essentially impossible in a studio.
Melinda, meet Mark Shubin. He's a forensic motion picture analyst and an Emmy-winning Life Fellow of the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers.
Thanks, Adam. Using image forensics, I can tell you that the light source we see in the moon footage is actually parallel sun rays with no diffusion. If you look at the photos from the Apollo mission, you can see that all the shadows are parallel because the light source is 93 million miles away.
But if you try to recreate that same photo using studio lighting, the shadows diverge.
Huh.
Back in the 60s, the only way to recreate that effect would be to build a wall of millions of laser lights so close together they'd be like pixels on a TV screen. No.
So yeah, and then they say that, oh, it's impossible to do it because it's so would be so expensive in the 60s to have those lasers and stuff. But let's look at this one picture. Unless this is like a fake, but I think this is supposed to be a moon landing picture, and you can see the lines are not parallel. So it like this one here and then this, like it would suggest there is a light source just over here or something, like some lamp. And this isn't the only photo. Like this, if you really are interested in this topic, there are plenty of documentaries on YouTube and stuff pointing out pictures like this. I'm not an expert when it comes to photography and light sources and stuff, but well, this seems like, looking at these pictures and the arguments of some of these researchers, it seems like many of these pictures were faked, probably all. Let's move on.
Maybe that's what they want you to think. What if NASA secretly created computer graphics and just kept it from us for 40 years?
Well, then an astronomical number of people would have had to keep that secret. Like over 400,000 NASA employees.
No, this is one of the lamest excuses that I hear almost constantly. People saying like conspiracies cannot happen because too many people would know about it and somebody would speak out. And just recently I've seen a few good comments on the internet debunking this ridiculous claim. Like, just look at the Harvey Weinstein stuff. Like, he's been supposedly molesting women for decades, but nobody really spoke out because they didn't dare. They were afraid that, maybe they'd be sued, maybe they would lose their job. Or like Jimmy Savile in Britain, he did it for like many decades, even longer, and raped children and whatnot, and nobody. Well, there were some. I remember seeing some interview by one of the Sex Pistols guys pointing it out and stuff. And there's like a sketch from not the 9 o'clock news, like with Rowan Atkinson and some other British comedians back in the 80s. Like there's like a van for like Jimmy Savile's show, and then they're catching children to it, and I think it was like banned, but I think you can find it on YouTube, but I didn't look for it specifically because I just thought of that, like, ooh, that's another. So there were some people speaking out, but clearly not enough. And like, these aren't just like, certain individuals like Jimmy Savile and Harvey Weinstein. I think they speak of a larger group of people, and these are just fall guys, or like they try to contain it to these singular individuals when there is an actual like industry-wide problem of sexual abuse and whatnot. And like okay, and another point, like people cannot keep all these 400,000 NASA engineers would know about it or whatnot. Like, no, haven't you heard about compartmentalization? Like in the military and stuff, the grunt doesn't know like what the generals are scheming, like when they're gonna invade, like when they were gonna have the, like when the Allies were gonna attack Germany, like they didn't, probably the average grunt didn't know in advance that they're gonna invade Normandy on that certain day and whatnot. Or like the Manhattan Project, it was very compartmentalized, and most people working for it, they didn't know that the end goal was to develop a nuke, and so forth and so forth. So compartmentalization is a common thing, and there is nothing even weird about it. So this guy is just, I don't know, being purposefully acting like an idiot. Okay, and the last bit about the moon landing hoax.
Proof that we went to the moon, huh? There isn't any.
Actually, there is. While the astronauts were on the moon, they laid out a reflective material called retroreflectors. So today, when an observatory on Earth aims a high-powered laser at them, it bounces right back.
So that's not really something that an average person can verify. I don't think you can just order those lasers from eBay and point it at the reflectors if they do exist on the moon. And I haven't seen like pictures. And didn't they also like supposedly leave like the moon buggy or whatnot on the moon, like when they went there? But I haven't seen like, telescope images of them. And should, like, we have powerful telescope today, shouldn't somebody be able to like, just, look, here is the, the landing site, here is the flag that they left on. But I haven't seen like any actual reliable pictures of it. All right, let's move on to the next conspiracy theory that he's trying to debunk.
Oh, what a cute little daycare center.
This daycare center is a conspiracy to abduct children and use them as blood sacrifices for satanic ritual.
Okay, well, that is clearly insane.
Yep, but at the time, most of America actually believed it.
There is no question that something is going on out there. Nationwide, we found that minor cases of satanic activity light up the map. These 12-year-old boys, with their parents' consent, demonstrated how they were taught to inflict pain on their enemies.
Contemporary Satanism relies heavily on bizarre and sometimes bloody ceremonies. The ideal sacrifice, we are told, apparently requires babies.
So, they're referring to the Satanism scare of the 80s in the States and whatnot. And I cannot say like whether those particular like daycare center or this case that they're talking about, if that was actual satanic conspiracy or whatnot, but like, well, they're talking about like, targeting children, and they were talking about like breeding with children or baby breeding or whatever. And just look at like, look at Hollywood, how there are all these, Corey Feldman, Corey Haim saying that the child actors get, regularly molested and whatnot. And there's Woody Allen. Yeah, he fucking married his adopted daughter, and then like I think his other children, they accuse him basically of being a pedophile. And of course that doesn't prove that he is one, but it certainly seems to point out that he's like the world's worst father, at least, and a pervert, like a freaky pervert. Elijah Wood made these comments saying that there's abuse of child stars was more widespread in Hollywood than had been reported, and then they sort of had to recant some of the stuff he said, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, there's plenty of reasons to suspect that it is very prevalent, and not just of children, but also like the casting couch is borderline rape in my opinion. And like even Milo Yiannopoulos, he said that in one of the videos I made several months ago about him, he said that he went to some parties in Hollywood, and there were some powerful people there, and they were into young boys and whatnot, and of course like the British establishment, like Jimmy Savile was just the tip of the iceberg. I'm pretty sure there are others, and Rotherham and all that stuff. I've mentioned it many times before. Of course, then you can say like, oh, those things aren't satanic, like they might be pedophiles, but it's not satanic. Well, okay, yeah, sure. But like, look at this, this statue of Baphomet unveiled by the Church of Satan back in 2015. And then this stuff that I discussed in one of my videos recently, a Satanist wins the right to abortion because of her religious beliefs, because she's a Satanist. So Satanists can abort their children, but Christians can't, and well, whatever. And there's like this. I think this is a library somewhere in LA or like in California or whatever. And there's some drag queen dressed up as a demon, lecturing to children or whatever. Like, just, tell me this isn't satanic. Like, at least Zer has only 5 horns, not 7. But, like, come on, this is demonic. So it's, if you pay attention, you can see that this, satanic influence. I don't know if Satan is, like, if they truly believe in Satan or if they believe in some other demonic things or Molech or whatever, but like, in a, like a, vulgar parlance, I think it's fair to call it Satanism. And it seems to, certainly nowadays, it seems to be very prevalent, especially in the United States. But yeah, I don't think they just, sprang out of nowhere. And of course, like LaVey's Satanic churches formed in the 60s and whatnot. So I do think that the Satanism scare of the 80s, it was grounded in some facts. Even though maybe that particular case wasn't true, I don't know, but they didn't just pull it out of their asses, I'm pretty sure.
It started because one guy lied to get attention.
Typical.
In 1972, a man named Mike Warnke wrote a memoir called The Satan Seller about his supposed past in an evil satanic cult.
I was instrumental in leading 1,000 people into Satan's kingdom. I drew an upside-down star on the girl's stomach with the freshly spilled blood.
That's gross.
And a lie. In 1992, investigative journalists exposed Warnke as a total fraud. And now he's a stand-up comedian.
So, okay, maybe this Wonky or whatever, Warnke, maybe he was a fraud, but it doesn't prove or disprove other possible Satanists. Like, yeah, one fraud doesn't, prove everybody else who has similar claims to be a fraud. And okay, let's just see the final bit on his this Satanism debunking crap.
And child care providers across the country were falsely accused of satanic abuse. In total, more than 70 people were convicted for horrific crimes they didn't commit.
70?
They were later exonerated, but not before some had spent more than 20 years in prison.
Sure, if they were imprisoned with for based on bullshit charges, yes, that's horrible, of course, but that still doesn't disprove that there was no Satanism at all.
They lost their homes, their businesses, their freedom, all because of one conspiracy theory that was never even remotely true.
Yeah, this sort of triggers not even remotely true. Like, satanic ritual abuse is a thing, and like, yeah, it's good to, like, yeah, it's horrible if people get accused of it when they didn't do it. But once again, maybe this case wasn't true, maybe it was, but certainly this sort of, well, satanic ritual abuse, like, this is like, I guess this is the first step or something to satanic ritual abuse. All right, then he talks about, like, these, cognitive biases of conspiracy theorists. Let's have a look.
Mistakes. Humans are generally very good at understanding the world around us. We look for cause and effect. We seek out patterns, and we ask why events happened and who caused them. But those same impulses are also subject to cognitive biases that can cause us to come up with incorrect theories about the world. For example, it makes us uncomfortable when events are random, so we tend to look for patterns where they don't exist. Place your bets.
Huh. It's been read the last 10 times. We're due for a black. Put it all on black, baby.
Red.
Aw, splits.
So that's hardly relevant. Like gambling machines that are supposed to be random is not the same as society. Like why wars start or terrorist attacks occur, or like why, like I don't know, like a McDonald's company builds a McDonald's close to you. Like those things are all intentional. Like somebody intends for it to happen and whatnot. Like instead of like, you know, gambling machines that are designed to be random unless they're rigged, of course. But so that this argument makes little sense that this video is making.
We're also subject to what's called intentionality bias. That means when something negative happens to us, even when it's an accident, we tend to assume that someone did it intentionally.
I'm sorry, it got damaged in shipping.
Postal Service did this on purpose, because they want me to pay extra for mail insurance. I'm onto your scheme.
So yes, certainly sometimes random accidents or whatnot happen, and some people might interpret them to be deliberate. But this sort of thinking, like, I don't know, excusing motives for people, or like thinking that, you know, there is basically no cause and effect when it comes to social issues is like a rampant insanity in modern society. Like, let's have a couple of examples like this. German judge says Turkish man's forced violent sex is culturally not rape. So there was some woman who bought drugs from this Turkish guy, and they consumed speed together. And then the Turkish guy asked her to go to bed with her, and she refused. According to the report, she had said she was not her type. She had said he was not her type. Okay, but the drug dealer forced himself on her. And here's how the paper described the encounter. I won't read it, but so basically he raped her, and she refused, cried stop after he had grabbed her, and then finally gave up. To most people that sounds like rape. Indeed, the German paper reported that the Turkish man carried on with the sexual intercourse for hours on end, so badly that the girl could not run properly for the next 2 weeks. But apparently he was not charged, because like according to Turkish culture that is not rape or something. And this is like, to anybody with a brain, with half a brain and with any degree of decency, this is rape. And she even said she doesn't wanna have sex, but like they somehow excuse his clear evil intent. Like, even if this guy, like, if Turkish culture is so fucking immoral and retarded that this is not considered rape there, like, fine, but they were in Germany, so he did an illegal act, he did an immoral violent act, but his intentions are not like question, and it shouldn't even matter, but it's clear that, you know, he did he raped her. And like, where are the feminists over issues like this? Like, when an actual rape happens, they're nowhere to be seen or heard. And like, another thing, this was in Austria, and I think I've discussed this in the past as well. This is like the best example of how evil Western society has become. 20-year-old Iraqi refugee raped a 10-year-old boy at a swimming pool, and then later he was exonerated or set free because he didn't understand that the schoolboy was saying no. I don't know what sort of culture this is or whatever, but I thought this is supposed to be illegal in any in any Western society. This sort of stuff is supposed to be illegal, and it's sort of like this modern thinking that there is no cause and effect, no people cannot have intentions. Let's say if I go somewhere in the city center and I pull out a gun and pull the trigger, and then the bullet hits somebody and they die, well, I didn't intend to shoot them. I just went there with the gun and pulled the trigger. Of course, I guess I would go to jail for using a gun, because that's bad. Okay, guns are bad, but murdering people, you cannot prove that it was my intention. So yeah, people do have evil intentions often. And yes, I agree with Adam the cock to the extent that sometimes you can confuse intention with an accident, but often people have bad intentions and they act on them.
On top of this, we're also victim to proportionality bias. Our brains crave a balance of cause and effect. So when an event is huge and shocking, we need the cause to be just as huge and shocking.
Breaking news. A Malaysian plane carrying over 200 passengers has inexplicably gone lost at sea.
What? I can't live in a world where planes just malfunction and disappear for no reason. There's gotta be something bigger behind it.
When major events are truly random, it unnerves us, and our cognitive biases start to take over. We begin to see patterns, causes and effects, and shadowy actors where none exist.
Talking about the Malaysian flight, I don't know what happened to it, but in these times when NSA is spying on people for everywhere and pretty much everything, and they supposedly have all these spy satellites and whatnot, I'm pretty sure some CIA or NSA, they know what happened to the plane, but they're of course not telling it to the public. And well, that's not even a conspiracy, but I do think that it's asking questions why don't we know what happened to the plane? I'm pretty sure somebody knows. I don't think it was aliens or black holes or anything mysterious like that, but maybe it was a malfunction, maybe it was an assassination or something, I don't know, but clearly somebody knows. How could they not know?
And that's why conspiracy theories tend to form around large, terrifying tragedies. For example, when JFK was assassinated, it was such a random and horrific event, people couldn't believe it was the work of just one man.
The president was killed?
So this guy is unironically saying that Lee Harvey Oswald shot JFK and he was the only guy, really. But yeah, we just have to wait a week, I hope, and then all the files are released. I wonder, I'm skeptical. I still expect them to be heavily redacted or something, but hey, then we'll see if Adam was correct. And, it was just Lee Harvey Oswald. Yeah.
It couldn't have been just one crazy guy. There must be more to it.
But when Ronald Reagan was shot, there were no prominent conspiracy theories. Why? Because Reagan didn't die. This made the event less shocking, which made it easier to accept the consensus explanation. Proportionality bias in action.
So he's saying because Reagan didn't die, people are less likely to think it was a conspiracy. Well, there are conspiracy theories regarding the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan, like the John Hinckley Jr., that he was MK Ultra mind control victim or whatnot, and you know, it says like, yeah, they're not as prevalent or like, you know, as famous as the JFK conspiracy theories, but they were still there, so it doesn't really follow up what he's saying. And I'm not an expert when it comes to Reagan's attempted assassination, so if it was a single guy or if there was something else to it, but still Adam's argument is bullshit once again. And like, yeah, at this point I thought like, you know, okay, this guy must be CIA, because basically everything he's saying is bullshit, and that's like CIA's goal, to make everything that the American public believes it should be wrong. So this is clearly what this guy is doing. And yeah, and he was saying something about consensus. Like, it's easier to accept the consensus explanation when the ramifications of the event aren't as big, because Reagan didn't die. So he sounds like he's some sort of Borg that only accepts things when the consensus accepts them, and when the consensus does not accept them, then he rejects them as crazy. So he's basically a guy who does not understand that whether, you know, how the way to determine whether some claim or event or whatever is true or it happened the way you are told is based on, it falls on the facts that you have to analyze. Yeah, this and a lot of these, you know, idiocy signaling guys who just, you know, counter signal without providing arguments, they don't understand that you have to provide arguments, you have to show facts, evidence, whatnot. And yeah, then talks about cognitive dissonance, which certainly a lot of these coincidence theorists believe in. It's not so interesting, I don't want to talk about it, but like, he doesn't, like, he's supposed to like debunk the whole idea of believing in conspiracies, but he doesn't even address 9/11. Like, why not? Is the biggest conspiracy theory of our time, of our generation and whatnot, but he doesn't even mention it. Like, why? Well, I think I know, because, well, 9/11 was a conspiracy no matter what explanation you believe. Like, if you believe that the Taliban and bin Laden did it, or whether you think it was a inside job or Mossad job or whatever, you think it's a conspiracy. So even like the mainstream explanation of 9/11 is that it was a conspiracy, and like simply pointing that out would just ruin his whole main argument, which is that conspiracy theories are based because of some psychological blah blah blah, and they're all false inherently because no conspiracies exist. And once again, like, why is there such a thing as criminal conspiracy in criminal law if conspiracy theories are inherently false? Like, please explain it to me. And just like, you know, point out these articles like, you know, 10 shocking conspiracy theories that were completely true. MK Ultra, Fruit Gator, I don't know why it's a conspiracy theory, whatever. And like, well, this is the most obvious. NSA, I remember back in the 90s, people used to say like, NSA stands for no such agency, it doesn't exist, and, you know, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist for believing in it. But, you know, fast forward to 2013, and then everybody knows that NSA exists and is spying on you, and it's been spying on you for decades, at least on Americans. I don't know if it used to spy on other countries as much back in the day, but certainly nowadays I think they do. So yeah, there's plenty of, and of course, like this, you know, which justified the Gulf War. Like, there's this Valley Girl, accent girl, saying like, they put the babies from the incubators, and, you know, then he had to invade Iraq and whatnot. And there's like another 33 conspiracy theories that turn out to be true, and blah blah blah. There's plenty of stuff here. I don't want to read all of it, but basically, like, and this is not to, and the argument should not be whether conspiracy theories are right or wrong, because, like, well, it's just, if you know what conspiracy, if you understand the meaning of the word conspiracy, which is basically two or more people doing something in secret that is like having an agenda, and they are promoting the agenda in secret, usually with the intention of doing something immoral or illegal. Like, conspiracies do exist, and there is nothing crazy about theorizing about them. But yeah, if you believe, like, you know, that 9/11 was an inside job, for example, it doesn't necessarily imply that you believe that the moon landing was hoaxed, or that the Illuminati exists, or anything like that, because every of these claims should be, you know, the facts and the proof and the evidence of these claims should be addressed, and not like the psychological reasoning of the person promoting them, or like you know, the motivations of the person or whatnot. Like, it should fall on the arguments. But there are a lot of these retards who don't understand, although now I closed the window. Anyway, but I was supposed to click on it. But anyway, this Adam guy, he's an actor, and I should point out, like, there's, like, you know, that video clearly had a budget, like, so there's some sort of agenda when they're doing it, like making the video. They had all this, you know, different kind of movie sets for it, and you know, it wasn't just one guy in their room talking on a microphone or something. So there is an agenda there, and I wonder what the agenda is. And yeah, okay, the last thing I should point out, like, just the term conspiracy theory, it was invented by the CIA after the JFK assassination to basically discredit people who questioned the official story on the JFK assassination. Like, makes you think.